My name's Rich Rogers. I'm a NASA research pilot at Wallops Flight Facility, and I've been here for 26 years. Oh, great question. Why do I want to be a research pilot? Well, it's a long story, but it started with my mom back when I was in high school. My mom wanted me to be a doctor, and so as soon as I walked in the hospital and looked around, I said, I don't think I want to do that. But on the way home, we went by an airport and I saw an airplane and I said, I like that. So yeah, so anyway, the airplanes have always intrigued me. So when I got the opportunity after high school, I figured out a way to go hang around airplanes. Well, actually, I decided to work after high school. You know, I didn't immediately dive into college. So after 2 years of working, I decided to try the military, and I went in the Marine Corps. And so when I went to the Marine Corps recruiter, he said, what do you want to do? And I said, hey, do you have any airplanes? And they did. So I became an A4 Skyhawk jet mechanic. So I started as a mechanic, and then I did that for about a year, and then found out you really do have to have college in order to be a pilot on the aircraft. So I thought, you know, that might be fun to do. So I actually went to college for 4 years after the Marine Corps, and then came back in the military in the Navy as a pilot. So that's how I got my start as a pilot. It did. It did. You know, it gave me an appreciation for all the hard work the guys do. In fact, you can see behind me here in the hangar, you know, a lot of the work that goes on behind the scenes to make an aircraft fly. We're currently changing engines on 2 large turboprop that we fly here at NASA, and so you couldn't do that without mechanics. So they're very important to the flight operation. I've flown a number of aircraft in my time for not only the Navy but NASA. The P-3 Orion, which is a large turboprop, much like the 2 C-130s you see here in the hangar with me right now. King Air, which is a twin-engine turboprop. A C-23 Sherpa. The T-34 Charlie you see over my right shoulder here, that's a single-engine turboprop. That was the very first airplane I flew in the Navy. And we fly them here at NASA too as chase aircraft for some of our larger research. And then, let's see, I've also in the last 4 years flown one of the new things that's coming out, unmanned aircraft. So I'm a Global Hawk pilot as well. So that's been fun. So I've done the manned and the unmanned version of aircraft flying. I like them all. In fact, the P-3 I've gotten the most time in, but I think probably if I had to take one around the pattern or around the block, the T-34 over here behind me. Well, it's just so maneuverable. It's small. It's not a jet aircraft, but it flies much like one because it's got a lot of power. It's used for to teach military pilots how to fly aircraft. So it'll do all phases of flight, from instrument to visual to acrobatics, formation. It's a lot of fun to fly. So it'll do just about whatever you need to in an airplane. Plus, it'll turn on a dime. A lot of the fighter outfits actually keep a plane like this, which is cheaper than flying their jet, and plus they're good for what we use them for, chase and photo and a lot of different missions. So I think that one's probably the one that I like to fly the most. A lot of fun. Oh, other than the aircraft, specialized pieces of equipment used, yeah, we do. In fact, some of them are really cool because they're like video games. We've got a lot of GPS technology out now, a lot of Garmin equipment that is built not just for cars but for aviation. And then our science teams actually come to us with their own little video games that we fly, because we have to fly very precise lines underneath satellite tracks and repeat them, say, every 5 to 10 years. And so we have to prove that we were right back over the same spot. And so in order to do that, I've got one instrument that mounts right on my yoke on the kind of the steering wheel of the aircraft, and it brings in 3 different lines. One of them's even got little Pac-Man that I can capture, and as long as I get them in the middle, then we're flying right where we want to fly. Yeah, and you know, the scientists, you know, they're having fun, you know, doing that, going, I know these pilots will like Pac-Man, so we'll give them some Pac-Man to chase down on the screen. But it's a way to get precision flight so that you can prove that you flew right over the same spot of the Earth 5 years later within that accuracy, which is pretty awesome. A typical day for me, well, there is no typical day because every day is different, which is one of the reasons why I like aviation and really NASA in general. I might come in and do office work one day for a few hours and then go to meetings with my science team to talk about the mission we're going to fly either that afternoon or the next day. Then I'll go down in the hangar deck where I'm sitting right now to check in with the mechanics and the technicians to see if the aircraft's ready, do a pre-flight of the aircraft, then run back up to my office and call the FAA, call the weather service, and then get all the pre-flight data I need, and then I'll sit down with my science team and go over what they want to do, where they want to go. And sometimes they want to fly over the ocean, sometimes mountains, sometimes in clouds, sometimes, you know, not in clouds, sometimes high, sometimes low. So you want to get the basic plan that they want to do for capturing the science data that they're after, and so we help them figure out how to do that safely, because there are a lot of areas that you fly that are fun, like down low, but there's also hazards down low, like towers and the ground, other airplanes, that kind of thing. So you kind of just come up with your basic plan so that when you get to the aircraft, you're ready to go fly. So it's a fun day, not only for the flight, but you get to interact with people the whole day, and so you're not sitting in, you know, one spot for 8 or 10 hours. So I like that part of my job. Teamwork is critical because you know, without the kind of the NASA team part of my job, it wouldn't get done. From all that flight preparation before the flight to actually when you get on the flight, you know, one of the simplest things that you've got to get the team to do is communicate with each other. So you have to know, put your headsets on, know what frequencies to be on, who you need to talk to, and sometimes we're in the cockpit, we're listening to each other in the cockpit, everybody in the back of the aircraft, the science team interacting with us, and then we're also talking outside the aircraft with the FAA. So it's definitely a team. And the other part of team is each person's got a different job. So the pilot might be flying, the co-pilot might be talking on the radios to the back or outside the aircraft, while the flight engineer on the larger airplanes, they're monitoring the instruments. In some of our aircraft, we have a project manager in the cockpit with us that are communicating front and back of the aircraft. So everybody needs to kind of do their job during that phase of the flight to kind of, you know, get the job done. So yeah, big part of what we do.
What do you like about working at Wallops?
At Wallops, oh, Wallops is really cool. Wallops it's a really relatively small part of NASA, but it's got just a little bit of everything. We've got airplanes and balloons and rockets. We even send rockets up to the International Space Station, and we all kind of work together. We have aircraft that work with balloons. We work with the range when they fire the rockets to make sure the range is cleared of anything that would get in the way of the rocket launch going successfully and actually not hurting anybody in the general public. And it's just a fun place to work. You know, not only NASA but Wallops, because it's you know, it's just a small community. We know each other by first names, and it's just, I mean, when you can, you know, have fun and get paid, you know, that's kind of what you're looking for work, is trying to find that workplace that you're having a good time at. Yeah, so I can show you a story about one of our aircraft, our main aircraft that I've flown for the last 30 years, the P-3 Orion. We had it recently in Africa this past summer, July and August of 2016. And so we're flying in Africa, doing a science study. We're studying fires that are created in Africa and how they interact with aerosols out of the ocean, and what that causes. It's very close to the place where hurricanes are formed, so the scientists are very interested in that. Well, one of our maintenance technicians on post-flight, and it was just a routine part of his job, he climbed up on top of the aircraft, across the middle of the aircraft, and checked each and every instrument that we put on the aircraft. And we had about 12, 13 instruments on the airplane, on the bottom, on the top, on the wings. And he found just a really small crack where one of the instruments that was on the very tip top of the aircraft were, and he brought it to the attention of the senior pilot and the senior maintenance crew, and we actually we didn't fly the next 2 days, and we spent time pulling the instrument, fixing it. And what we found when we investigated is that if we had not found that, if that technician hadn't done his job that thoroughly, that the aircraft could have had an explosive decompression on the next flight with 24 science people in the back, and we, potentially could have lost the aircraft and the crew. So yeah, that was a cool story. So that technician's a friend of mine, Billy, and he got an award just last week, for doing that kind of job for us.
What kind of advice would you give to high school sophomores?
I already give you one advice. Don't listen to your mom. No, just kidding. Listen to your mom and dad and your teachers. But the advice really in that is, because those people are pulling for you really, but you want to find out what you want to do in life. And I've been told no so many times. No, you can't fly this. No, you'll never make it in the Navy. No, you'll never be a pilot because there's too many people in line to get those few slots. And yet I just kept on pushing, and actually, get out there and try some things, because what you're going to find is you're going to find out what you don't like doing by trying something. But when you're on the way to that, like I was leaving the hospital, you're gonna look over to the right and you're gonna go, hey, that looks pretty cool, and you go try that out, and through that process. So I just say my advice is, explore, go find something you like to do, and that'll make paying the bills all that much easier, because you're gonna want to buy a car and have lots of fun, and you might as well have some fun at work while you're getting that money to buy that car and all the other good stuff you want to buy in life. So